I wanted to give a little intro to this video because, Scott and I have done so many videos, and I'm looking through old hard drives and I'm finding things on old things right and left. And sometimes I'll find something that we did so long ago. And it was before I had a YouTube. It was before I had any sort of platform to share these videos. I guess I had done them thinking, who knows? You just do them. You video your friends, you video a trip. And unfortunately, like a lot of times these videos get lost, especially ones from trips. So I came across this video that we did of a good friend, Sarah Deer. And I mean, it pulls at my heart when I watched it. I do think of her so often. She was so sweet. And we kind of became friends pretty fast. Anyways, I wanted to share this video because she was only in her late 40s. And we knew she was sick. She had a brain tumor, but she was so positive. She was such a delight. And we live north of Winston-Salem, and she lived in Raleigh and near Raleigh. And many times I would drive to go visit her. And so many times she would come and drive to just come and draw with us and took a couple workshops with us at our studio downtown. And we just liked her. She was a delight. And anyways, so one time we went to her house and we wanted to film her life story and just to document her, just so that she did not go away and be forgotten. And so, this video might bore people or might trigger people. She does talk a little bit about her treatment and about what's going on with her, but she's so positive. And so if you don't want to hear that type of stuff, if you don't, I find it enjoyable just to learn about people, just to hear her family, how she grew up, her marriage, how she got into art. And you'll see that she talks a lot. And I think Scott is probably the only person that I know that can draw or paint somebody when they are a moving target. So you'll probably be watching this and going, how is he drawing her? He just happens to have that ability. And so Scott did a drawing of her. So we wanted to film it. And the sad thing is that I obviously had been filming it with two cameras. And I just don't know what happened to the second footage. Maybe it will show up someday. That's the problem, is that it was so long ago. I think it was about 2010. The reason why I think that is because Scott mentions in the video that he had just started Facebook a few months before. And I had noticed when I checked my Facebook that I had joined in 2009, and I think I joined before him. So, and I remember, it's funny how Scott can be kind of stubborn. He doesn't want to join in or do things right away. And so I think it took him a tiny bit to actually join Facebook. So anyways, if you want to just listen without the volume, just put it on and just watch it or fast forward through it. It's actually a beautiful example of how Scott draws. We do draw differently. He approaches it differently. So I just wanted to share this. And I was thinking of Sarah Deer, and I wanted to tell her she is not forgotten. And I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks. Meeting you.
Okay.
And what he's about to do is do a drawing of you.
Okay.
And then it'll just be like back and forth questions.
Sarah, turn your head a little this way.
Keep the chin down.
A little bit back towards me. Right there. I like that. You're getting a little bit of light on your cheek. That looks nice. I like that. Now turn your head a tiniest bit to your left. I want to see what that looks like.
A little more?
Nice. Do a little bit more. Right there. That looks nice. What do you think, Sue?
Yeah, no, I like that strong shadow next to her
looks
nose.
good,
It's very
yeah.
sergeant-y.
That looks
Now I'm
good.
gonna go to the bathroom, so you guys just start.
Okay, great. Yeah, that looks fun. Yeah, I've been doing a lot of these, recording people while I'm drawing them. What?
Do you need me to turn the camera on?
I turned it on.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, it's running. I'm gonna put your head about there. Fun. So yeah, we're just gonna talk. I want to
Okay.
hear your story.
Ooh, my story. I was
So,
born in a small
Who are you?
cabin.
What's your who is this person? What's your name?
My name is Sarah Deer.
Uh-huh.
I'm a native North Carolinian, but I've lived
Where were you born?
Raleigh.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I was born
Not
at
far
the
at all.
no, I was born at the old Rex Hospital, which is now the what is it? Social Security office. And if you are having problems, you know, you lost your job or whatever, that kind of, you go there and talk to them. I was born there.
That's neat.
Yeah, all
You
through.
can look at me. It's fine.
Yeah, all three of us, meaning I have an older sister and a younger brother, we were all born there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Wow, how fun.
Yeah, well, you seldom see people anymore who are from here.
What were your parents? How far back generations did your family live here?
My father moved here in the 50s. He went to State, which is the big university here, on the GI Bill.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he has a
So
degree.
he was in World War II? Or?
Yeah, World War II.
Wow.
He was stationed actually where we lived in England. Where our house was, because we lived in Germany and then in England outside of London. When we went to look for a house in in England, my dad goes, "Well, where are you living?" And I was like, "Well, we got a house here in Bishop Stortford." He goes, "Is that near this and this, and is it of a near a low rise and all this?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, that's our spare landing field."
Wow.
So my father, where he was stationed at Bury St. Edmunds, which is like 2 or 3 villages over from us. And so he was very ecstatic. He knew exactly where we were, exactly what was near us. And
Gosh, that's so fun.
yeah, and so what's really scary is like, Dad, what were you doing when you were my age?
Uh-huh.
I mean, or because he was only 19 when he was there.
Right.
He was actually underage.
Oh yeah, he joined up and lied about his age?
Yeah, my uncle signed his papers saying that he was old enough to go.
Wow.
And
What was he in? Was he in the Army or the Air Force?
yes,
Or-
Daddy was in, back then it wasn't separated out, it was the Army. But my father was a rear gunner. And if you met my father, you would go, "What?" Because my father is 6'2".
So climbing into that small thing.
Yes. He goes, "I was only 19. I was stupid." But he said after everything else, how he got into that position was, meaning into that particular job, was he went to, you went to boot camp and all this. And there was a room, they said, "Okay, you go down and see Joe Smo, whoever's in that room." And there was a sign hanging over all the doors saying, whatever, or something like that. And so my dad goes down there and top of his head just brushes that sign. And that's when my dad goes, "I realized that sign was actually lower than any of the other signs." And the guy who was in the room, the sergeant, came out and said, "Story, which is my maiden name, was like, "Story, do you want to fly in an airplane?" And my dad was like, "Yes, sir." He says, "Walk back underneath that sign, squat slightly." Kind of thing. And so that's what my dad did, and that's how Dad got into it. And he actually learned how to fly a plane. Wow. Learned how to do, and my father's someone you should. I always said that you should.
We should draw him.
Oh, he is. He is
That'll
really.
be fun.
He is he's full of so many stories. You get him talking, and then it's like, he'll go, "Have I told you this?" And it's like, "Daddy, you just met the man. I don't think you told him Jack." Kind of thing. But he is, as my art will say, that my dad is always full of stories and just so, you know what I mean? He's just funny.
Sue, could you check that and make sure everything is framed up properly and everything?
Yeah.
It is.
Look good? Okay, great.
Yeah.
And
So,
if you need to zoom, The zoom is on top, that little button there that goes back and forth.
Oh, this. Okay.
Oh, well, that one, but there's one right here that's probably easier to use.
Oh, this big
That
one.
one, yeah. Yeah. So you just frame it however you want. I can't see it from here, so.
But, yes.
What's your dad's name?
Clifford Morris Story.
Oh, wow.
And my father, we'll have to get him a haircut first.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, because I would.
Have him come down to, you should bring him down to our studio,
he's
or we can
older.
paint him.
Yeah, he can't.
We'll go to his place then.
Oh, you don't want to go to Daddy's house.
Okay. Well,
No, Daddy's got two. My brother who lives with him has 2 dogs. I can come in the house. Art can come in the house. My niece can come in the house. Beyond that, my sister's husband, they don't like for him to come in the house. They literally will try to eat him.
That's funny.
Because they're protecting Daddy. Because, I mean, Daddy has his walker and stuff like that. And he's a stitch, though. Absolute stitch. But he's...
Here, well, I'm going to take a picture of Sarah from here.
Yeah.
But they use that other little video camera, too.
I'm going to, but I want to wait for your drawing to be a little bit further
Oh,
along.
okay,
Yeah.
cool. Take a picture of Sarah. Look right at me, Sarah. Turn your head a tiny bit to your left. There you go. Now look towards me, right at me with your eyes. That's good. That's good. It's lighter here.
Yep, they're back.
Cool. That's alright. Inside.
Yeah.
Do you have more paintings of yours hanging up? Where are all your paintings?
They're upstairs.
Okay, you have one in your kitchen
Just a
though, right?
second.
Yeah. Oh, that one in the kitchen isn't any good. That I just put up because I wanted something red. That sounds really...
Did you do these pears?
Yeah, I did the pears. I did those long, long ago in a faraway place. Do I look stoic?
You look good.
Okay. No, I just wondered because I know typically when I get my photo taken, I always look like, oh my, she's Amish,
yeah.
isn't she? Wow. And as I've been informed, it's like, that's not how you really are.
Well, it's very odd to have people totally relaxed. You know, usually you're involved in a conversation or you're reacting to something somebody's saying.
Yeah.
And so your expression is constantly changing and
Yeah.
moving it so subtly, you know, that I almost find it like when I draw you and we're talking,
Yeah.
I almost find it more natural than actually having somebody just sit completely still.
Still.
At least
I
you get more
know.
natural movements in the muscles and in the face and the lips and the mouth.
Yeah, and that to me, I like working like that, meaning
Yeah.
having whoever is the subject talk unless
Right.
you're doing their mouth.
Yeah, sometimes you have them, you know, like I'm blocking in your mouth now, but I'm seeing
Yeah.
some of the, you know, some of the
Yeah.
patterns and shapes that happen when you're kind of making expressions and things.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun to do. So tell me more about your dad. You know, so
Oh.
he went. How old was he when he went? You said he was.
He was underage. He was actually, I think, I want to say 18.
Mm-hmm.
He was too young to be in the military,
Right.
World War II.
18 was too young?
Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
I'm pretty sure it was 18.
He was either 18 or just before he was 18.
18, yeah, one or the other.
Yeah.
But my uncle signed the papers because
Right.
my grandmother would not. My daddy was her baby. He was 12 years younger than my uncle. He was an oops baby.
Uh-huh.
And on a farm family, you know, they usually had tons of children, so we knew that
Where did they live? What kind of farm?
it was an actual full-length working farm.
Mhm.
I used to love to go visit because they always had Jack and Jill, the mules.
Mm-hmm.
Because they had a tractor and stuff like that, but they still used Jack and Jill for a lot of the pulling and heavy work.
What kind of things did they farm?
Somewhere upstairs, I have a photo of my grandparents making sorghum molasses.
Hmm.
And my grandfather was evidently famous in their little neck of the woods outside of Nashville.
Mhm.
Today it's about an hour outside of Nashville by car.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just amazing. The thing, so they grew that. They grew corn, tobacco. Oh, what else did they grow? I mean, they grew potatoes, everything.
That's neat.
Yeah, and that's how they made it through the Depression.
Mm-hmm.
My father grew up having one pair of shoes a year
Mm-hmm.
because if he wasn't at school, and
Tiny bit too. Right there. That's perfect. Go ahead.
if my father wasn't at school, he was going barefoot.
Mm. Wow.
And, but he lived in Hartsville, Tennessee on a farm. Then he remembers moving there when he was like 3 years old in the back of a wagon.
Wow.
I mean, a horse-drawn wagon sitting next to my grandmother.
Huh.
But yeah, my father can tell you some stories that you're like, oh my God, you remember that? My mother would go, oh, you can't remember that. And my dad gives you vivid details of like being put in the snow.
Mm-hmm.
It was the year they had the biggest snow. It was like 1920, again, don't hold me to the date, but like 25 or something like that. And he was just a little itty bitty guy.
You just keep talking. I want to get a picture of when I'm talking.
And it was just so funny that he says my grandmother took him out and everything was covered in white.
Sarah, what was your maiden name?
Story, Story. Yes, it fits, doesn't it? I went from a story to a deer. A deer story.
A deer story. There you go. Yeah, that would be a good hyphenated name, huh?
Yeah.
Sarah Deer Story.
Yes. Oh my God.
Well, actually, maiden names come first.
Yes.
Oh, Sarah Story Deer.
Yeah.
That's pretty fun.
But anyway, so my grandmother took my father underneath. He couldn't figure out why she kept putting all these clothes on him.
Mm-hmm.
No, he's like 2 or 3, and she literally picks him up under his arms and does this to him, bloop, and drops him off the edge of the porch. And he says, my first thought was, one, mama dropped me. That's not supposed to happen. And then 2, I am cold and wet. And he said he started hollering and his mother just started laughing. And she just laughed so hard that then that upset my father. It's like, I am in distress. And you were laughing. And so she picked him up and, got him all dry. But Daddy said from that moment on, he was not trusting of snow. It's wet and it's cold.
That's funny.
Oh, yeah. But it also summed it up about my grandmother, too. Drop him, see what happens.
Now, how did your dad meet your mom?
They met at the University of Tennessee. Daddy has a degree from the University of Tennessee and one from NC State in forestry.
Forestry. Oh, so he did that after World War II then?
Yep. That's
the
it.
GI Bill?
Yeah, that's the only way he could afford it.
Right.
I mean, as he says, I grew up on a dirt poor. That's the only way they made it through he says he remembers my uncle and my grandfather coming home from the farmer's market where they would go every fall and sell the tobacco they had grown for the year, and that sustained them through the winter until the stuff in the spring started producing. And it was amazing to me. He said, I remember when they came home, because Granddaddy said that he only got like $1 for a whole year's worth of work.
Wow.
And it was, they should have come home with tons more money. And they didn't. And so, but luckily they lived on the farm and they had hogs and chickens and pigs and cows. And so, and turkeys. That was my father's job, was to raise the turkeys.
Right. I guess in the Depression you were very much luckier to be a farmer than to be a worker, because you're out of luck if there's
I know.
not a work.
Well, also too, and as my father said, it was nice for him growing up because they never went hungry. He says, these days you can just go to the store and get anything at any time of the year, and it doesn't matter, kind of thing.
Right.
But when he was growing up, it wasn't like that.
That's neat.
Yeah.
And so he met your mom. What was she studying?
Home economics.
Oh, there you go.
She was a home ec teacher.
Yeah.
He was
She's
actually
a teacher there. Huh?
Yeah. Well, no. She was actually going to school. Dad was dating her cousin.
Oh.
And so his mom's cousin, who actually lives in Chapel Hill, was like, oh, come on, I got to go meet Cliff. Because he was also working part of the time when, you know, as part of his GI thing, he had to work on campus. He was working in the cafeteria. And so they stopped by, and one thing led to another, and then they broke up. And so he asked my mom out. And I never realized my parents were quite the, how shall we say, the cats about town.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah. My dad was my mother's, like, third date of the evening.
Wow. Third date.
I was like, how did she coordinate that? Oh, I'm sorry, our time is up. We gotta go now.
Early speed dating.
Yeah, early speed dating. And then, so she and Dad went sledding, and they went hiking. And because Dad was the president of the hiking club there at the University of Tennessee, and you know, I think it worked out okay.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, but I can't believe. Do you know how my father proposed to my mother? I was like, I don't know if I would have accepted it. She had gone to do her student teaching in Ohio in the middle of the winter. She said it never got above. Well, you guys are from up in that area, you know, the Chicago, Ohio. She said it never got above 0 for like 3 months. She suddenly gets an envelope in the mail because she and Dad had been corresponding, and there was a ring in it and a proposal. He asked her via mail, will you marry me? Here's the ring. If you don't want it, please return it. I was like, what?
I guess he knew something. It worked, huh?
He must have known something, but I just could not believe that he did that.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah, no, I don't know what's funnier about that. My mother accepted it, or that he had the guts to do it.
And what brought them to North Carolina?
Daddy, when he graduated from state, before he even graduated, he got 2 job offers. One at Carolina Power and Light, and he really wanted the job at the Forestry Service because he's a forester. He wants to work in the Forestry Service, count the bunnies and things. Well, it ends up that CP&L actually offered him more money and benefits. Do you know back then to get benefits was, you know, most people didn't offer them. So, but he got them, and he made the decision, you know, one day I'll get married, since he'd already proposed to my mother. You know, so we need the insurance. And so he took that job, and he says, now it's the neighbor next door that
What's the name? Oh.
the sound next, because she was like looking around like, what's that?
Oh, that's fine, yeah.
What's that sound? But so anyway, so he took that, and now my dad says he's really glad he did take it, because if you look at that and then look at some of the other people that, you know, got into the Forestry Service, they've all either been laid off
Oh, right.
or didn't get as good of benefits when they finally did get benefits and things like that. And so Dad says, at least, because my mother died of a stroke, he says, at least I was retired when your mother got really sick, and the insurance covered everything.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, it covered, makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Big difference.
Now, how many brothers and sisters do you have?
I have one older sister, she's 5 years older, and then I have a little brother. Know how I say that? Little brother. He's about 5'9", 5'10", and weighs about 300 and some odd pounds. He's a little boy.
Yeah, he's a little brother.
He's a little brother. And he sounds like Barry White, which which tickles me to no end, because he's like, hey sis. And I was like, what? Hey sis. But yeah, yes, on May 8th, they're having some big cook-off.
Oh, yeah?
Barbecue cook-off in Winston-Salem. And I'm going to go with, that's my big outing for the day.
Oh,
So I'm going to go with my brother, my niece Stephanie, and her roommate.
Oh, that should be fun.
Yeah.
Where does that happen?
I don't know. John isn't very clear at the moment, other than
I think we've been to that. It's like a barbecue thing.
Yeah,
Oh, we did
yeah.
Go to that.
Yeah, it's
That's
right near the studio. It's like
Yeah,
Marshall
that's
and
not fun.
Oh, really?
Fifth, or no, Marshall and like 4th.
Yeah,
Okay, so it isn't far.
I remember that.
So if we park down in the lot where I usually park, we should be okay.
Yeah, it'd be about 3 blocks, but there'll be parking lots that maybe a block closer.
That garage is not hard either.
Yeah, it's maybe
Yeah.
a couple of dollars
So.
if you want to park in the garage.
Yeah, no, that's fine. That fools that they are, they're gonna let me drive. I'm like, you guys are nuts. I'm a girl on chemo. What are you people doing?
They're thrill seekers.
Yeah, they are.
So you were telling me about the fact that your doctors wanted to put you on more chemo because you were doing so well.
Yes.
Turn your head a tiny
Yeah,
bit.
just-
There you go. That's
That you were doing so well that they were
Yeah.
thinking, oh well, now that's started, right?
Yeah.
And how long will that be? Or is that just like every time you see them they'll decide?
No, they say, and I made them commit to the first. If she tries to
know.
attack you with
Sorry.
it.
He's gonna draw
I
it.
just thought, well, I'm holding this video camera, but it's not steady enough.
Oh,
I thought,
I have. Oh yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
so yeah, this-
I mean, that's actually what that is for,
I have
is
that
a
other
video.
tripod in the bag too, if you want it.
Oh, well, anyways, I don't know.
Oh, so what they decided is I will do this until the first week of November. Every other week I'll get a BEV treatment, which explains the bruise on my arm. And then once every 4 weeks I will take Timidar, which is an oral pill every evening, which, as Art says, you love having to eat dinner early. And I was like, yeah, I don't mind eating dinner early because I got to take anti-nausea pills and then the other.
Take your chin down a tiny bit, and then turn. There you go. That's perfect.
Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead. And tilt your head a little this way. Yeah, there you go. Go ahead. Sorry.
I'm
I'm-
sorry.
Oh,
I'm
no, no, no,
gonna
no,
draw
no, no,
here.
no, 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 no. I was watching Sue and
I know, try to figure out how to do your tripod. It has a different head than usually we
yeah.
use.
Yep, that's fine. Anyway, but so yeah, they're like, okay, we'll do this. But I'm having
Look at me with your eyes. I'm gonna draw them in here. Go ahead. Sorry.
oh, but the Timidar, when they combine the Timidar with the Bev, by Wednesday evening. Okay, that is next door. By Thursday morning, Wednesday morning, Thursday morning, and Friday morning, I am covered in hives
Every single time.
every single time
This
now.
is how. What? This is every other week. You said?
This is no. Bev is every other week, and it's I actually enjoy the Bev because they give me a Valium before they give me the Bev. Oh yeah, it has an anti-nausea, side effect to it, which I was like, cool beans. Give me my drugs. I love my drugs. But yeah, no, that's the thing that floors me. They won't turn down the Timidar in dosage because when I take it at a smaller dosage, now it's 3 times the dosage amount I originally started out at. That's a lot.
Yeah.
Even they are like, that's a lot.
And do they test your blood every single time to see
Yep.
if things change?
Yep. They test my blood. Right now they say my white blood cell count is slightly down. But they aren't concerned about that per se because it's a good down. I was like, what do you mean it's a good down? Care to define for the non, medico person? So anyway, so that's their thinking because I'm on this experimental program and I have done so well. Knock on wood. The tumor hasn't come back, and the majority of people who have the kind of tumor I have tend to be well on their way out the door right now.
Well, that's great news.
Yeah, so, and I have my next MRI June 3rd.
Okay.
And so they'll monitor me, but again, that's why they want me to continue because I seem to be
Do they
doing,
give you any? Because they haven't really done studies because you're one of the first.
yeah,
So they can't really even give you like, oh, this has helped this person or that person.
no.
Yeah.
I mean, like, because my forehead, it was beet red. I mean, my face, the bottom half was just as it is now.
There you go. A little bit more. That's perfect.
But from my eyebrows to the middle of the top of my head, as I went through radiation, became beet red.
Wow.
And I mean like NC State beet red. And I was like, what lotions, before we even started, I asked, what lotions and things should I put on? Oh, when it comes time, we'll tell you. And I was like,
It's time.
yeah, it's time, boys and girls. And then after all that was over, and I had the worst sunburn I've ever had in my life, they're like, oh, you did incredibly well. We expected you to have blisters and everything else. And I just looked at him and I was like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, they just, omission, the sin of omission, they just don't tell you.
Yeah.
And then, like, at the end, they're like, oh, because...
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, that's why I'm doing so well. I am a star student. I mean, you talk to my surgeon and he is. Well, you guys met him. He came in and every time he sees me, he's just like... And I'm just like, it's not that gleeful. I am right here, boys and girls. So, and Arthur was very insistent that I go ahead. And he's like, you done it this far. If we can get the hive thing to calm down, he says, then you can tolerate it for a few more months. And I was like, November is more than a few more months. That's...
I wanted to hear some too. You were saying that you went to England for, that's where you studied art?
Art history.
Come about?
Art is a computer programmer, and he used to work for Nortel when it was originally B&R, and then Nortel took it back over because they're the same company kind of thing. And to make a long story very short,
you don't have to make it short.
you're like, we got a long time here, girl.
Go on slow.
That basically they needed people to help the Germans right there on the Swiss, outside of Zurich, Switzerland, and France, Alsace, France. And so Art wasn't getting promoted because he was so good at his job.
Wanted him there.
They wanted him there because he was training the others, you know, people that were coming. Yeah. So Art finally applied for a job in Germany because they just opened the lab there, and he was going to get a whole lot more pay than he was here. And as his wife, I got a stipend to further my education.
Oh.
That's a big step, though. Was it scary to move over there?
No, I left this state like you, as they say, don't let the back door hit you on your way out. No, I was ready to go, but it was scary once we got there in the sense that we moved into, I mean, our neighbors had pigs. We lived next to a pig farm. You know, stuff like that. And where I would go walking, you would see the cows would realize who you were and, you know, start to moo at you. And there's a little sign at the butcher, because each village had their own butcher and, you know, baker. And well, you've been to Europe, so you know what it's like. So anyway, but our butcher would always have a note saying, this is where I'll be on Sunday, and they would do the slaughtering on Sunday. They would go to the actual farm, slaughter the animals there, prepare the meat, and then take it to their butcher shop for the week. So that was very interesting. But it was kind of a culture shock because, have either one of you ever been to Germany?
No, we've never gone to Germany.
I highly recommend where I lived, Bodensee, and you can take me with you. That if you go during the summer or late summer, it's very, very hot there. They grow strawberries there. The only part of Germany they can actually grow strawberries.
Oh, really?
Yes. And but it's surrounded by vineyards. But each village will take a turn, and like this village near us, you know, every year they would have an herb fest. The following weekend somebody would have something else, but it's all related to the wine, and they would take the little kids. And it's the only place I've ever been where, like, for kindergarten, you know, little kids go to kindergarten, and it's your first day of kindergarten. They have a party for the adults. It's like 8 o'clock in the morning, and they're serving them champagne, and it's like toddling the little children off to their kindergarten class for the first day of class, but they have a big breakfast for all the grown, you know, the parents and stuff like that. And I was like, where can we rent a kid?
Yeah, that's right. You want some champagne.
I want to go out. I want to have a party at early in the morning.
That's pretty fun.
Yeah, but it was, once I got used to the differences and how clean they were, I have no problem with that.
And was it a language problem with
yes.
school?
No. I ended up, because we were an hour outside of Zurich, our main airport was a Zurich airport.
Oh, okay.
So once a month, I flew to England every month without fail for a week to 2 weeks because I needed English. I needed to hear someone that I understood exactly and didn't feel like an idiot.
Right.
But I didn't learn that much German simply because every village near us had a different dialect.
Oh.
I could see the village next to us. It was less than 5 minutes walk, but it was a completely different dialect. They didn't speak High Deutsch.
Right.
And so it was like, I learned it for our village, but if I went anywhere else, no one had one clue of what I was saying.
Wow. Yeah.
And it's the same as me I have to lose my accent whenever I go overseas because they don't understand the Southern accent. We had one couple who came from Texas, and they had a real deep Southern drawl. The Germans could not understand one word they were saying, even if it was in English and they were speaking English. They had no clue what they were saying. So they ended up having to go home because they were all so miserable. That, and they couldn't figure out the garbage.
The garbage?
Oh, God, yeah. These people here think we recycle. They have nothing on the Germans. You're allowed one gelbe sack every 2 weeks. It's a yellow sack. Gelbes.
Lower your chin a tiny bit. There you go. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, yeah. The gelbe sack is a yellow plastic sack, and that's what you put your recyclables in. You are allowed one of those every 2 weeks. And they do. The garbage men will tattletale on you to the local government if they figure out you're the one that has more than one yellow garbage bag.
They do that in Chicago now, where you're given a otherwise it's hard to get people to recycle.
Yeah.
So that's what they did is they give you one. They give you 4 special bags per month, and you can use those. Put whatever you want in there. It doesn't have to be recyclable.
Yeah.
But then you also have these bins for recycling, and you can put as much recyclable as you want.
Yeah.
So, but if you go over the one bag, then you have to buy another bag from the store. So it's like paying a tax then on having more trash. It works really well. It keeps people from. It encourages them to separate their recycles. Otherwise, they'll fill up their bag.
Yeah.
And I mean, they can still go buy another bag, but they would rather save that money. So.
Yeah.
It sounds similar to what they
Yeah,
were doing all the way back then.
Yeah. And the most interesting thing to me was also, too, and it was one that I was not very keen on. I like my trash being picked up once a week, by the way.
Yeah.
I like my smelly fish carcasses, my chicken carcasses to be taken away once a week. I don't like opening my trash can in the summer and having maggots and flies and during the winter having to go out and thaw out your trash can. You guys in Chicago had to do that, I bet, too.
Thaw out your trash can?
Yeah, so they could open the lid.
Oh, it was so cold that it never actually melted and refroze, so it wasn't like it was. I don't think that was a problem.
I don't remember having that problem now.
Yeah, I don't remember having that problem either.
Well, we certainly did in Germany, so you're out there with a blow dryer. You're out there with it.
We had that problem with our car. Like,
Yeah,
you wouldn't be able to get your key in the lock.
Couldn't get the door.
Oh,
The key.
really?
So you'd have to, warm up the actual area where you had to put
Or
your
the
key in.
battery would freeze. And
Really?
Yeah, so you have to take the battery in the house and let it warm up, and so that electricity would, or your fuel line would freeze.
Yeah.
Gas.
So how long did you live in Germany?
We lived there 3.5 years.
And what were the dates of that?
Oh, goodness. Let's see. We've been back here 6 years. We were in England for 3 years, almost 4. And then 3 years before that, we were in Germany.
So when you moved to England, was that because of Art having a job, or?
Yes. One of his best friends, JP, knew how much I loved England. And JP was he got a job in England. Let's just say JP he's French Canadian. He's never met a stranger. He makes friends wherever he goes.
Yeah.
And he wanted Art to come work with him and be in his group in England. The movers are literally packing our things into the moving van to move them back to the United States. And when JP called, and I've never seen people with such strange looks on their face, because I was trying to explain to them in German, no, take everything off the van. We're going to England. And they're like, Britannia? I was like, yeah, Britannia, God save the Queen. And they're just like going, what?
So would you, if you could, would you move back to Germany or England?
Art wants to move. He wants to win the lottery and move to Zurich, Switzerland,
Oh, yeah.
or to Montreux. He'd love to live
What
in
about
Montreux.
you, though?
I want to move back to England. I miss England.
When you moved to England, did you live in London, or what town did you live in?
We lived in Bishop Stortford. It's a suburb of London. It's halfway between Cambridge and downtown London, Liverpool Street Station. And I know that sounds really strange, but you get used to traveling by train there, and so it's like, oh, it's halfway between this station and that one, and everybody knows where that is. So
Was it a townhouse? What was it like?
it was a house. It was a regular. Our apartment before we moved was bigger than our house in London.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, and the best part was our house in England was worth almost $1 million, and we're like, hello. You know, it was just funny.
Are you getting warm? I'm getting pretty warm. Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, good.
Do you want to take a break?
Oh, I'm fine. No,
Okay.
We'll take a break in a couple minutes.
Okay.
So
But
make
no.
sure
So was
that
it
I
easy
get
to move to London?
Oh, good God, yes.
Yeah,
Oh, God, yeah.
that's good.
When Sophia had moved from our village, she and her husband, he had decided to have a small romantic moment with one of his students. He worked in a lab.
Who is this?
My best friend Sophia,
Oh,
she was British,
mm-hmm.
and I met her. Yes, I remember the day I met her. I went with our neighbor across the street who happened to be an American,
Mm-hmm.
and she was going to pick up her little boy from the kindergarten
Mm-hmm.
class. So I went with her and met Sophia there. She had Gabby in a pushchair. Gabby was about 2.5. And she was picking up Elena, and Laura was with her as well. And I was wearing a cowboy hat. Let's talk about standing out in the woods in the middle of Germany. You know what I mean?
You're trying to tell everybody I'm an American.
Yeah. Well, it was also pouring rain, and it was the only raincoat I had, or thing to keep the rain off my head.
Yeah.
So I put it on. I didn't think about it until later, and I was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have done that.
That's fun.
Yeah.
And what was her romantic moment?
His romantic.
His
Oh,
romantic,
his romantic. Is you mean her husband?
her husband's romantic moment with his student,
Oh, geez.
his graduate student, because he was a chemist
Mm-hmm.
and worked at a big chemical company there
Oh, my goodness.
in Friedrichshafen. And
Does she need to tilt a little?
Yeah, tilt a little this way. There you go. Thanks.
thank you. Okay, you give
I
me.
want your lips to be perfect.
Oh, you're doing my lips. Oh, then I could shut
No, I
up.
want you to talk. I'm actually drawing you with them talking. So.
Yeah. Oh, good for me. Nothing unnatural about that.
That's right, yeah.
But no, so evidently he decided he was having his own personal midlife crisis and decided to have an interesting event with his student.
Mm-hmm.
Sophia found out about it and basically packed her little children up, all 3 girls, and I went with her home. I helped her take the girls home to England, and she lived with her parents in their house, which again was 1 bathroom and a house, which up north in the United States, you know, that's typical to have 1 bathroom. I don't care if you have 7 bedrooms, you have 1 bathroom. Still haven't understood that one. But anyway, so that's how I met Sophia and all that. And
Did she live near the area that you were moving to?
yes, she lived 5 villages over from us. And it took me roughly 20 minutes to get to her house by car. And that's going the back roads. Now, if I went on the main highway, God, it was over an hour.
Mm.
Because they took you, you know, it's one of those, let's go, you know, the backwoods of nowhere to get you where, you know. So I always would go the little country roads. And as Art said, I just love riding with you through these little country roads. Because some of them, you'd reach the bridge and you had to honk your horn before you got to the bridge. And as long as you didn't hear anybody else honking, you just drove straight across because it was only big enough for 1 vehicle. And that kind of thing.
Now, how did you meet Art?
Oh, now that's always interesting.
Was he married and you were a graduate student?
Yes, I was. That's how it worked out. No, I was actually dating his best friend. That's how we met. And Dwayne and I dated for 5 years.
Oh my God, that's a long time.
Yeah, we dated for 5 years.
So if he was Art's best friend, they must have talked about you.
So you knew him
Evidently.
for a long time, huh?
Yeah.
You knew Art for a
So
long
you would
time.
see Art out?
Yeah, we see him all the time. We go do things with he and his girlfriend at the time, which was Doyd. Doyd, of course, is not her real name. Her name was Amanda. And Amanda was a really nice girl. But she and Art both knew they were just dating, you know, somebody to go out with and that kind of thing. And then after Dwayne, I always thought it was the most interesting thing. One day he just looks at me and goes, I love you, but you're not the woman I want to marry. I just looked at him and I was like, really? You think so, sunshine? And he just looked at me and goes, yeah. I was like, did this epiphany just come to you? And he goes, no, I've been thinking about it. So anyway, so I bid him adieu, and but Art and I were still friends for a year after that, meaning we'd go out and go to the movies and go do other things because he was still dating Amanda. And one day he finally looked at me, he goes, do you know, I get along with you better than I do anybody else I've ever dated, any of my other male or female friends. And I was like, yeah? But it was just, I said, yeah. And he's just like, no, I just think it's interesting. And then about 2-3 weeks later, he asked me out on a date. And I was like, are you kidding? A real date? Like kissing and date? And he goes, yeah, kissing, date. And I was like, oh, okay, we'll try it. And I think it worked out okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, 14 years later, I think it worked out okay of marriage. Because we dated at least 5 or 6 years before we got married.
So you've been married 14 years?
Yeah, 14 years. But as he says, if we counted up all the time we actually dated and lived in sin, that it would be 20 some odd years.
Wow.
So, well, you guys have been
About the
together.
same.
Whatever happened
nine.
to the other guy?
Oh, that part, my friend Sue, who happened to be a psychologist, she goes, I'm so glad you dumped that Dwayne guy. And I was like, why? She goes, he's such an engineer. And I was like, what do you mean by that? I mean, I knew what she meant, but she goes, because they're never sure of their emotions, if they even have any. And then they're just not very affectionate or anything else. As soon as Arthur and I announced that we were engaged, he got engaged to the girl he was dating. They got married within, I think, maybe a month before we did. And then within 2 years, they were divorced. And she was right. And they
What was his name?
Dwayne.
Was he mad at Art?
No. See, that's the thing that just floors me. Okay, in the world, Scott, this will be new for you. This will be new for you. But in the world of women, if I dated you and then you started dating my other friend, I may talk to my other friend, but I pretty much write them off. You just write them off. It's self-preservation. Well, evidently Dwayne and Arthur do not have that same sort of preservation.
It is interesting.
And
I
I'm
mean,
like,
especially since you dated the guy. It wasn't just like a few months.
no.
It was like a long time.
Yeah, it was a very long time. Everybody thought we were going to get married. I didn't think we were going to get married, but it was just kind of rude to suddenly be informed, I love you, but you're not the woman I want to marry. I was just like, I mean, it's like you're eating your cream of wheat. And it's like, what? This has nothing to do with what we're doing.
Yeah.
So,
That's interesting. Well, I think you definitely lucked out.
oh yeah. No,
Art's such a great guy.
well, that's it. And he's very supportive and because even before we moved to Europe, he's like, I think because the art makes you happy, he goes, I think you should really do that. If so long as we can swing it financially, he goes, I think that's what you should really do.
That's nice.
Yeah, because his mother never worked. And so, and he goes, well, she was as happy as she could be. Meaning, having 5 children, each of them very different personality-wise. How many children? You have like 5 in your family too, right? 4 or 5?
Four kids. Yeah, I'm the oldest of 4.
4 boys or all?
One sister, and my sister's a year younger than me.
Okay.
And the other two brothers, younger brothers. Yeah.
Okay. All right, so you do have one sister in the family.
I think how long our thing is. Got to go.
But
Get over there.
can
Why
I?
don't you stand up?
Oh
Yeah.
God, thank you.
Take a break.
Take a break.
Here, I'll turn the light out.
Just check if I messed up. Okay. That's,
All right.
that's more. God, this is so fun to draw.
Okay,
Hey,
is the head
that
right?
looks great, yeah.
Okay. Anyway, but no, I love the printmakers.
So were you into printmaking before you went to London? Or you kind of learned about it there?
Well, actually, I learned about it at Westing College, which is, oh my God, you guys should go there. It is to paint interiors and
There you go.
interiors and that kind of stuff. It's unbelievable, and they provide all your meals. You can just go stay there. It is an old house. It's an old estate house down in West Dean, and thus Westing College. But they teach nothing but the arts there. If you wanted to learn how to be a blacksmith, you can go and take a class for a week, and all your meals are provided. You have maid service every morning.
Wow.
Clean your room, take out your rubbish. It's very, very nice.
That's cool.
Yeah, but that's where I met Sarah von Niekirk was there, because I was like, okay, well, that sounds interesting. It was one of my times when we lived in Germany and I flew over. The only class I didn't get to take that I wanted to take was stone sculpting,
Wow.
because they had famous...
Well, David Simpson does stone sculpting. Have you met David Simpson?
I think I
Have you been to
have.
the Germantown Gallery?
No,
Oh yeah, you gotta go there
Yeah.
sometime. He does stone sculpture.
because in England, just as I left, they were coming out with these new suits that for people like me who easily get colds and lung infections, that it's a full suit that you wear. I mean, you look like a beekeeper kind of thing.
Oh right,
But
to protect yourself from the dust.
yes, the dust. And
Now, were you told me that when you were younger, you had to deal with health issues too. I mean, from when you were real little, or when you started to be a teenager?
teenager. But again, it was like I'd go through periods of being really well, and then I would suddenly get sick, and I was like, why am I sick?
Right.
And a lot of it's like, thanks, Mom. My mother evidently was allergic to everything that was known to man. And when she was growing up, it was like, you just must suffer through it.
Right.
Kind of thing. And like my parents shouldn't have had pets. I loved having pets. I mean, I grew up with everything but birds or fish. We had guinea pigs, gerbils, hamsters. No mice. Didn't have mice or rats. But, dogs,
At least
cats.
pets, huh?
Yeah.
Did it ever inhibit your social or school life?
It got me out of gym class. Boy, I love that. Because I had water on the knees.
Really?
Yes. And they thought that was very unusual.
This was as a teenager.
This is a teenager. And it got so bad because my knees would swell. And I don't have it now, evidently. Because I can sure walk well, not at the moment, but I can walk 2 miles now in a quick pace. But normally I could walk 5 miles and not break a sweat.
Wow.
So, it's just one of those things. But yeah, no. Overall, a lot of mine just goes back to allergies and the hypoglycemia, being allergic to all that. And then I do have a slight wheat intolerance. So.
And your hypoglycemia, was that like an underlying thing? Or like for me, I feel like I kind of became hypoglycemic. I mean, who knows if it's underlying or not, but it was probably because of a lot of bad habits I had. Like just eating so bad, I think my body, it was a lot of reaction to that. So I don't know if that was from you, or you thought because of allergies, maybe your body, it was like an underlying thing that was always there.
I think it's always been there because diabetes runs on both sides of my family, meaning both my sets of grandparents. My grandfather Story, he was a diabetic, and diagnosed a, diabetic back when this was a novel thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And but he was controlled his strictly by diet and that kind of thing. And then my grandfather Queen, which was my mother's father, was
Wait, her last name was Queen?
Queen, Queeen.
Queen story, dear.
Yes, I know. I went from one cute name to my mother did the same. She goes, I went from one cute name to another cute name.
Okay, I'm sorry. So yeah, I was just curious because, as I've gotten to know you a lot,
Yeah.
I mean, you're right, it's true. I feel like you have so much energy and you're so love of life. You have so much, which mentally you're so positive. And yet the more I know from you, I feel like, oh my gosh, you've had so many struggles.
Yeah.
She's always bragging about you. She's always telling friends,
Oh, well, thank you.
You're like a warrior to me. So I feel like I'm just, first of all, the fact that you persevere, but the fact that, the mystery of why your body seems to fail you.
Yeah. Well, again, I think part of that is because when I was little, diabetes runs on both sides of the family.
You just didn't know about it.
Well, we all knew it was there, but they kept testing me for diabetes because as a child, when I went to school when I was 5 years old, I went to kindergarten, and from that point on, I became chubby. Before then, I had been always a very slender,
so
tiny.
Something in your body metabolism changed drastically.
That and the fact they made me sit at a desk.
Right.
And I had been, as you can tell, I move. I constantly move unless I'm reading. If I'm reading, as Art says, the house could fall down around me. I could care less. I'm reading a book. But other than that, I'm constantly moving, doing things, that kind of stuff. And going to school, that suddenly just stopped. And back then, nobody talked to you about exercise.
Right.
Yeah. My mother was a home ec teacher. She was in charge of and then it was the Raleigh public school system cafeteria. She was in charge of the whole thing, which was unheard.
That's a pretty recent discovery of just what food does to you.
Oh yeah. Well, my mother swore, and I just would sit there and giggle when I would say, well, chocolate, isn't good for you, or caffeine isn't good for you. And she goes, there's been no research to prove that makes children hyper. It's just not true. It's just not. And then it was like, and then I had to think about it. It was like, no, this goes back to when she was little and going through school. They gave you the little pyramid and food and all this. And I was thinking, Mom, have you ever watched any of your own little children give them a little chocolate and watch us bounce off the walls? Because, I knew I was hyper.
I'm sorry, you have a sister too?
Yeah, I have an older sister.
And where does she live?
She lives in Charlotte.
And has she ever had health issues?
Yes. But hers are slight issues, not slight. I do not mean to demean what Mary has. Mary and I both have strange heart murmurs, which I think is just how we were built. I don't think it's a problem. But some doctors are like, oh my God, your heart is wrong. And I'm just like, oh, please. It's been this way since I was a baby. I haven't keeled over. I don't think I am yet. From that kind of thing. But Mary, obesity runs in my family. Trust me, if you meet any of the rest of my family, you will go, oh my God, she wasn't kidding, was she? But we like to eat. We haven't met a meal we don't like. But yeah, my case is just I realized, as I say, when I was about 22, that coffee was giving me a severe headache. And then I started looking into, because no one had ever mentioned the word hypoglycemia to me, only ever diabetes.
Right.
So they would do testing periodically, and of course, I'm not diabetic, so of course it didn't show up.
Right.
And so I just took myself off of everything, literally went cold turkey one day and had nothing but meat. And then the following week I added in like potatoes or, something else. And it worked out beautifully. And all of a sudden I became very clear-headed, no more headaches, I felt really good and energetic all the time. So, I realized there was a definite correlation between food. And this is before the whole big, at least in this area, about eat organic, eat this,
Right.
eat that. And so it was hard to find food. As art goes, it was very hard to find food for me.
So that's why you're so excited about Whole Foods now.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I don't have to really shop other than to go to the store.
That's right, yeah.
So, but it was also nice when we lived in Europe. Do you know they'd never even really think about it there? I can go to any grocery store
And it's fresh, right?
it's
So
fresh.
local.
As well as in the UK, as well as on the continent, severe rules against using certain pesticides and so forth.
Right.
And I mean, things that we consider normal and okay here to use in organic farming, they wouldn't dream of using over there because they're as poisonous, it kills the birds.
So since did you work, you taught, right? Did you teach school?
Yeah, I taught.
Talk about that. You were teaching before you met Art or during you?
I originally went to state, and then I started teaching elementary school at Millbrook Elementary, working in the special ed room.
That's neat.
Yeah, we worked with 12. We always had 12 to 13 students. First year it was all boys. No, excuse me, the second year it was all boys. The first year we had 2 girls, which was highly unusual. And they were both in 5th grade. And it was just, I loved it. It was a lot of fun. They were a lot of fun. But I also thought it was interesting. We'd go out and take them like on a field trip. In the classroom, they always called me like Sarah, and then they would always, you know, whoever other adult was in the room, they would call them by their first name. But if we take them on a field trip, that's when it got interesting. Because it was like, they would go, Miss Story. And I was thinking to myself, you know, it's my name, so I didn't think anything of it. And then it suddenly dawned on me, every time we were in our classroom, they always called me by my first name, which is what I asked them to do on that first, you know, the first day of class. Because we found that if children, I don't care how old they are, if they call you by your first name, they pay more attention to you. Because they feel that you feel they are worthy. You know what I mean? They aren't little children.
Right, you're not talking down to them.
Yeah, they're real people. And I find that interesting.
So that's for me too.
Yeah, well, that was it. She does know that. And at Halloween, my supper club, I belong to a supper club, we had a Halloween party. And that was interesting. I wore some of my steampunk stuff. I was going to wear my pirate hat, but then Art said, no, don't wear that pirate hat. We're going to have a pirate party one day. And he says, can you imagine a whole group of adults, like 12 to 20 adults, all dressed as pirates, not at a Ren fair or someplace?
Yeah.
Well, isn't that what they used to do in the 20s and 30s all
Yeah.
the time?
Yeah. Oh, yes. They still do that in England, by the way. They'll have big house parties, and it'll be like the theme of the weekend. Yeah, the theme of the weekend.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So do you usually, like at night, do you read or do you watch TV?
We always watch TV. We record things. Like tonight we'll watch Doctor Who.
Oh my gosh.
I
You're
love-
the new Doctor Who.
Yes. Oh, I will, let's just say so far, being a Doctor Who fanatic, not to the point that it's like, oh, I thought Baker did a better job in series 4, 2, 1, you know, kind of thing. But I think the actor they have playing him is too young.
Oh yeah.
I think he's too, I think he's,
I don't watch it, but I watch a lot of BBC America.
Yeah.
So I know about, you know.
yeah. But I think he's an excellent actor, and I think he will bring a lot to the part. But I think he's just too young.
Well, he'll grow into it then.
Yeah.
He'll go
He'll be a
grow
Doctor Who
into
for the
it.
next 20 years.
Yeah.
He'll do it. But I mean, it's
Well, we got off track because we had to stop.
Oh.
I was asking you about teaching.
Yeah.
How many years did you teach?
I only taught 3 years. 3 seems to be the magic number for me. 3 years, because after the 3rd year, the teacher I worked with the most, Pam, she got pregnant and was going to be leaving. And because we co-taught, meaning she would pick certain subjects and be the lead teacher, and then I would be the helper. Other things, I was the lead teacher, and then she'd be the helper. Trying to give them a mix of, because in our classroom, I was the mommy, she was the daddy, and it wasn't anything we planned.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a pushover for most things, but there are certain things that I will tell you, do not do that. And I will tell you why not to do that. And then if you do it,
You'll say, hey, co-teacher's going to get you.
Yeah, the big teacher's going to get you.
I'm going to tell.
I'm going to tell. Oh, there was one day they were naughty at lunch. It was my turn to take them to lunch because we sat with our kids, and we were the only teachers that ate with our kids.
Mm.
So, but it was my turn to sit and eat with the kids, which it was always fun because we were also working on manners, which we thought was interesting that none of the other teachers were working on manners. Because we noticed a lot of those kids, I mean, they knew how to use a knife and a fork, but they didn't know how to sit at a table and have a civil conversation with each other.
Right.
Or you know, because you always have one or two kids in a class who aren't that popular.
Right.
But you have to include them, meaning, you know, the other kids need to include them. And because like in your adult life, you meet people that you aren't particularly keen on, but you do talk to them and you're nice to them and things like that. But you
Well, and also it's a lesson that sometimes when you get to know someone, you realize you do like them.
Yes.
So if you're always judging people before you really kind of spend a few hours with them. Right?
Yeah, that was it. So we'd sit at the table with them, and sometimes we would sit together, meaning we'd all go to lunch together, kind of thing. But one day they were all so naughty, going back and forth, because we aren't supposed to talk in the middle of the, walking, because we can disturb, because we're walking past all these other classrooms who have their top windows open to let air into the rooms. And
That's good, thanks.
so anyway, so what ended up happening is they were so naughty. I came back in the room, and I had done my initial threat stuff of, you know, if you do this, we're gonna do that. So anyway, I got them back to the room. Pam had gone out to lunch or whatever. Anyway, she was sitting at her desk. I walked in. I banged the door open because I was leading the group. I banged the door open and I said, "Get in here now!" And she looked at me. Her eyes got really big, and those boys came shuffling in. I mean, they shuffled it, and they all sat at their desk like, "We're angels. We're such good boys." And I was like, they were so horrible. I'm leaving now. And she looked at me and was like, and I said, "I'll be back." And she's like, "Oh my God." And so as I left, I slammed the door. The whole room was dead quiet. And then all of a sudden I heard Pam go, "I don't know what you did, but that's the maddest I've ever seen her." They were really good to me. It was good for about a week's worth of good behavior out of them.
Well, and when did you stop teaching?
Let's see, 85, 67, about 88.
And was that because of?
Oh, it was because
Turn a little bit to you right there.
there was no support. And if Pam wasn't going to be there with me, I didn't want to work with somebody else because we were working with special ed kids. Our kids were normal. They just were we were in the high functioning level class, and that all of our kids, when they went to junior high, would be mainstreamed into normal classes. But our goal was to teach them how to, we knew what each child, their weakness was. Some it was math, some it was reading, you know, things like that. But we were helping them learn how they learned, so they could be, you know, put into a normal class and function and figure out, oh, I need help, and feel comfortable about themselves enough to say, I don't get it.
Right.
Because it's amazing to me how many children don't have that confidence. And you especially need it when you're really little. And you typically don't have it then.
Yeah.
You know?
So why did you not find a job someplace else?
Because I decided I also was tired of there not being any support from the parents.
So teaching, it was a disillusionment.
Yes and no. It was a disillusionment not for the children, not because of the children, but because of their parents. The
Like
poor.
you were like supposed to do what they were.
Yeah.
You
Oh.
were doing their job.
Yeah. Whoop.
Don't
Sorry.
Right. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Yeah. And Yeah, because I always painted. I mean,
Right.
even as a little kid, because my grandmother painted. My grandmother
And when you
Queen.
when you thought about oil painting, were you familiar with artists that you really liked, or was it something that like was sort of new to you and you were just learning everything then?
Andrew Wyeth, growing up, he
Mm-hmm.
and Norman Rockwell, they were like my
Right.
idols
Right.
growing up.
Well, because I remember, I think you somehow, I don't know if you saw us in a magazine, because I think you signed up for one of our workshops.
Yeah,
And
Yeah.
years and years and years ago, and then because of a health issue,
Yeah.
wasn't it from your
yeah, yeah,
uterine
yeah,
that you couldn't come?
yeah,
So,
yeah,
That's right.
yeah. Because I saw both of your work and I liked it because it was similar to what I do.
mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, and as my husband says, they're local, meaning you're in
Well,
North
kind of.
Carolina.
Yeah.
You're in North Carolina kind of thing. And I was like, cool. So, but yeah. I also think it's very nice that you both work in the same way, but the results are always different. I mean, it's the same person or whatever, but it always looks,
Yeah.
I know when you do it, I know
Right.
when you do it.
Well, and you have a very distinctive style too, but it's fun because looking through these art books that you have,
Yeah.
I can see, you can really see how somebody,
influences.
well, the
Yeah.
influence for just like the that you have the same just outlook of the geometry, the
Yeah.
graphics. It's really interesting. I love it.
Well, that's the one thing that attracts me more to any subject or anyone
Mhm.
is, as you say,
Spit out. There you go. That's perfect.
the graphic ability or
Yeah.
overall composition
Yeah.
of the subject, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And that's one of the reasons I love still lifes, because I can play with every aspect of it,
Yeah.
and whatever it attracted to me initially, I can redo it.
Mm-hmm.
That is cool.
Yeah. But still, the ability to draw the human being is very, as you say, you got to do it every day.
Yeah, because like we were talking about the artists who were we talking about upstairs? Oh, Laszlo.
Yeah.
And just like any artist, Sargent or Soroya, it's the fact of just doing it every day. I mean, if you did a drawing of a person every day,
Yeah.
I mean, you would have good days and bad days, but probably by the end of 3 months,
Yeah.
it would be you'd have such confidence
Yeah.
that you wouldn't even have to fret that much, because your brain, it's like a computer, just be like the muscle of thinking, it would become easier and easier.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's so many people get turned off of art because they go to these schools and they tell them, no, what you want to do isn't, painting beautiful things is wrong. And so they just usually end up going into something else.
Yeah.
And that's the sad thing.
Well, that's it. And I also think that having been raised here myself, school is a little too sanitized and they don't deal with the individual, at least in the world of art,
Yeah.
which I think is kind of sad. But
Fun hat.
yeah, now I love my hats.
Love it. That's so fun.
As Art said, with the radiation and losing the hair kind of thing,
Mhm.
he goes, we were already prepared.
You were already prepared.
I have like 8 or 9 different hats that are my everyday hats.
Isn't it fun? Oh, yes, it's fun. I love this hat.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've just signed up for maybe 3 months ago,
Yeah.
and to kind of promote videos and things. But I've gotten a little, addicted to these little arguments and discussions that we all have. It's pretty fun. I tend to seem to put things
So
on
have you
that are-
friended us?
What?
Have you friended us?
No.
Then you gotta friend us.
Okay, I can do that.
She wants me to do it like she says, can't you just do
Just
this
like
under
you,
an
under
alternate
pseudonym.
name?
Yeah. Well, that's
Because I get
why.
all these controversial, subjects that I put on, and so everybody's always getting upset at me. But actually, when I post things, we'll get like 50, 100 different
Yeah.
posts below it. Everybody's
Yeah.
debating the whole issue.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's kind of funny. But no, it's like no, I don't mind.
Now, Scott, I can't see you being controversial.
You can. What are you talking about? Oh, okay, there you go. So it's funny. But the funny thing is that there are all people who email and say, well, I don't like to talk about, you know,
Yeah.
politics or religion
Yeah.
or anything like that on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then they say, however, what you wrote. And I'm always like, well, if you don't want to talk about those things, it's like, I didn't email this to you.
Yeah.
You know, just don't read it. Don't respond to it, you know?
Yeah, don't look at this
It's
page.
just funny, yeah. Like I even write that on some of them. If you're not interested in talking, just don't read it. But it is fun. I like the discussions that ensue. But I like to write them out more because I like to think out you know,
Process.
yeah, really think out your arguments and
Yeah.
then they can respond back in a more thoughtful manner. And
Yeah.
so I tend to like a little bit more of a written thing, and then everybody can see it and people can put in their 2 cents or say, you know, you can check your facts and check other people's facts and
Yeah.
say, well, actually, no, that's not. So that's definitely the venue I prefer to have these kind of deep discussions. So
Yeah.
people are like, you're not really into small talk, are you, on Facebook? That's what most of it is. I'm like, no, yeah, I'm not into small talk. I'd rather, if I'm going to spend the time to write something, I'd rather have it be something that I'm interested in thinking about.
Yeah. Have you noticed more and more people lately, as you say, I call it small, you call it small talk.
Mm-hmm.
I just call it they don't have anything to say.
Yeah, it's like, do I really care that, you know, you're, you know, going to the grocery store today or this or that? It's like, why is that worthy of posting on Facebook? You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
and showing up on my homepage?
Yeah, I don't get that. I just don't get it.
I know. It's pretty funny.
So month by month, just like a little bit here and there, you notice things that.
Yeah, well, Art notices more like last night. He goes, "Do you realize you were multitasking?" I was like, I was talking to my dad, washing dishes, and also cooking at the same time. And he's like, "That's my girl, Madam Multitasker," because I usually do 2 or 3 things at the same time
Mm-hmm.
and have no problem keeping up with what I'm doing.
Right.
Art can do one thing at one time. And so, but again, I didn't realize I was doing that and hadn't been doing that. And he goes, "Sweetie, you haven't done that since you went to the hospital initially." And so he was very happy that I was doing that. But yes, we owed you a spaghetti dinner. I'd already done soup.
You didn't
We're
really
here to
owe us.
collect.
You just said, I'll give you spaghetti dinner like a year or 2 ago, and
Yeah,
it's not like you owed it to us. But it, you know,
We'll take it.
we'll take it.
Anyways.
yeah, I like how he says, "I'll take it anyway."
Yeah, that's right.
Do you want a wet one?
No, not at all. It'll go in the wash eventually.
Hey, it's better than my husband. "Honey, have you seen this shirt?" "Where was the last place you saw it?" "I think on the floor." "Oh." No, I said, "Oh."
There it is.
And I go over and I was like, "You mean this shirt?" And he goes, "Oh." I was like, "I don't think it's been washed yet." "No, not if it's on the floor over here. I only take things from the basket."
That's what I missed from when we went to Mexico, that Mexico trip.
Yeah.
All the people is the magic basket.
Yeah.
Room. And you put your clothes in it, and the next morning, in the evening when you come back from painting, they're all folded and clean.
Gee, did they
on
want to
the
move
bed.
here?
It was pretty nice. I tried to take the basket with me, but I realized it was too big to put in the carry-on. So, in the
Yeah.
in the airplane. So that's too bad.
Oh,
It's a great basket.
oh,
There
I
you go.
forgot about
Put your
that.
marker.
Yeah. I feel like everybody wants to hear what I'm going to say. But, no, I'd love to have one of those magic.
Yeah,
I
that's-
need a mommy.
We all do, yeah.
Yeah.
I need a mommy.
Magic baskets.
Yes. Yeah, we had a magic basket called Maddie.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Maddie was our maid. Yes, everything I learned about housekeeping I learned from Maddie. Because I was little, I'd toddle behind her. You know, she's my female model at home. So I told
Was
her.
your mom good at homemaking, or did she kind of give it up after she got after she got Maddie?
She got Maddie. No, well, Mama didn't have time. She did the cooking. Other than making Jell-O, Maddie made Jell-O every Friday. That's how come I knew it was Friday for 2 reasons. Maddie would make Jell-O, as well as we would have, she'd clean all the floors. She would lemon oil all the floors, because when I was little, we lived in a very small house. And it was really interesting, you know, to watch the process of how she would buff it and do all these other things to it.
Every week?
Every week.
Good God.
Oh, yeah.
The tiniest bit to your right there. You're a little bit farther to your left, I'm sorry. There you go. Go ahead and keep talking. I want to get finished.
Oh, but anyway, so it was just interesting, but I knew it was Friday.
Was Maddie African American?
Yeah.
Did you ever meet Maddie's family?
Oh, yeah. Her husband, Jeffrey, which I thought was interesting. And her 2 kids, yeah. But now as an adult, I think back and think, that must have been so sad. She was with us all day. My parents would drive over to her side of town. That sounds bad. But it was the 60s and the 70s. They would drive to her side of town, pick Maddie up at like 6:30 in the morning, and drive.
So they would have to go pick her up.
Yeah.
Interesting. I mean, that would take out of their time.
Yeah. Well, she didn't have a driver's license. And Maddie was very trustworthy. And she actually cared about us. So my parents felt very secure in leaving her with their children. And I know, again, it was one of the shocking things, but we were not exactly quiet little darlings.
So did your mother work?
Yeah, my mother worked. She was in charge of the Raleigh Public School System's cafeteria. She was the director of the public schools, that cafeteria section.
So Maddie, how long did she still work for your mom, even when you had grown up and left? Or?
No, she quit working for Mama right after Mother retired, because then there wasn't going to be the extra money to pay for Maddie, and Maddie went back to work at the school system, you know, in the cafeteria. But she evidently had saved a lot of her money because Mother had paid her so much more than the average worker, which was okay, because when her husband died early, I mean real early, that he was only in his 50s when he died, that she took it pretty hard, but she had enough money saved up, and then she herself retired later, and seems to be doing okay. The only sad part is her son James.
Is she still alive now?
Yeah, she lives in Raleigh, in the same house that her husband, they saved together, and because of Mama paying her more money, she could actually afford to buy a house. So they had one custom made.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And I do apologize, my stomach is also letting me know.
I couldn't hear it.
Oh, good, thank you. Oh, good. Now, as Art says, that was the other side effect of chemo. He goes, your stomach periodically goes, rah!
Mine does that.
Yeah, Sue, man, it
Oh
makes
my
an
God,
amazingly
scary.
loud noise.
Seriously.
But hey,
Are you still seeing the acupuncturist
yes, I do.
every 3 weeks?
Uh-huh. I see her. Well, tomorrow morning I see my chiropractor at 8:15.
So when did you always go to the chiropractor?
Yeah, I've gone to the chiropractor ever since I lived. Ever since I lived in Europe. So ever since then, and he just keeps me in alignment, especially with the chemo stuff, because as he says, like last week was a really hard week for me. My muscles and everything just stiffen
You
up.
tense up, and then and your muscles get out of.
Yeah,
Pull it,
yeah. So I find it helpful, and he also understands. Meaning that there are days, like last week when I walked in, and he was like, nice hives. Trying for something different today? And I was like,
Yes, I love the tired look.
yes, that was it. I loved it.
It's, you know, it's chic to be exhausted.
Uh-huh. Yes, it is. It's so chic. But again, this was 7:45 in the morning, and he's being funny like that. And I was just looking at him, was like, do you know how freaking early it is? He goes, I know you get up every day with your dogs at 6 o'clock.
Oh my God.
Now, what fun things are you guys going to do this summer for yourselves?
Well,
Nothing.
we've got.
Well, Scott, we might
Oh.
had a good experience going up to Richards and filming, but we'll show you the thing.
Yeah.
And because of that, we might go back up there and do kind of what we're doing with you.
Hmm.
You know,
He
maybe
wants to
even
hire
paint
us to-
Richard and like have him talk about his life, because he's really, you'll hear on his tape, he just
Yeah.
loves talking, and he just, you know, just very much into being able to put things into words like that. And so,
Oh, that's
and just for
cool.
posterity, because he is getting older and he
Yeah.
has health issues, so it's like, you know, and just I mean, it'll be fun for Scott to go up there and hang out and just kind of document him.
They really want to do that, so I'm like, okay, I guess. At first there's so much things going on, but like
Yeah.
Sue says, it's for posterity. And they had somebody
Yeah.
record some interviews with him on camera
Yeah.
last time at the Portrait Society to try and do that.
A year ago.
Yeah.
But unfortunately they screwed up and the sound didn't come out, so it was like,
Oh my God.
so I think he was really turned off, but they didn't want to try and do it again, but he's like, why don't you come up and do it, I'll know it'll come out better, and we kind of think alike, so we're on the same wavelength
Yeah.
and things, so
Yeah.
he feels more comfortable with that. I like this drawing. I don't know if it looks like you, it probably doesn't.
You know, it
but
doesn't
it's,
really look that much like you, but
It looks like a
it's
person.
It's an
Yeah.
essence.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
kind of does. It looks like you, it almost, because of the hat and this thing,
Yeah.
it almost looks like you have long hair. And because it's just
That's
fabric.
good.
But you almost look like you're like a romantic person from the 1800s, and like Boldini's painting you, and you just got off a horse.
Yeah.
It's kind of what it looks like.
Works for me.
It does, yeah.
Works for me. I even have the pantaloons. There you go.
That's right.
The little riding pants kind of thing.
Oh, jodhpurs.
Yes.
But I like the drawing a lot. I think.
No, I
I'm
think the
really-
drawing's
I'm
beautiful.
really liking it as a drawing.
No,
So that's the problem. Is like mostly when I paint models and stuff,
mhm.
I never worry about that. About trying to get everything perfect and make it
Right.
likeness, because nobody's ever gonna
Yeah.
see the model, and I'm more interested in making it a nice drawing, which is.
Well, and I have a niece that I drew, and I swear I keep working on it because she's a child. So
Yeah.
her face is that kind of round,
Oh,
which is hard
yeah.
to get the proportions, but
Yeah.
I just keep working on it. It will probably never be finished because I'm just thinking it does not look like her.
Yeah.
Which, like, it matters, but I mean, it's not like a portrait commission, but I just go, oh, my own brain.
Yeah. What does it
Thank
say?
you for being the raw material for this drawing.
You're very welcome. Hey, as long as it looks like a human being, I'm happy.
It's the experience, I guess.
Also, too.
Hanging out.
Well, yeah. Hello? That's not me.
Thanks. Somebody beeping at something.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, there's a pickup.
Was that it? Oh, go ahead. We're done anyways.
Yeah.
I was
Oh,
just
okay.
about to say we're done.
Okay, cool. Hold on here. Let me go see. Let me go see if it's my little guys.
Thank you, Sarah. That was
No,
so
thank you.
fun.
Well, you can take a still shot of it outside, too, and add it
Yeah.
at the end.
I'm just starting at a close-up and pulling back.
I think you did an excellent job on the lips.